She's made up.
Yeah. All right.
So she counts. Now we have 23. The other
Yeah.
John Klein. L.I.
There we are. All right. Hello, everyone. All right, we're going to get started. Are we all set? I think so. Okay. Hello, I'm Brad Sherburne, the chair of Manhattan Community Board 5. Welcome. We will begin tonight with our public hearing, so I will hand it over to our first vice chair, Yaron Nodi Victor.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the September public hearing of Manhattan Community Board 5. I'm Yaron Nodi Victor, the board's first vice chair. During this hearing, members of the public are invited to speak for 2 minutes per person on the subject set forth in the agenda or on any topic that relates to the affairs of the district. If you would like to address the board before it votes on any matters tonight, now is your opportunity to do so. Although there will be a public session during the full board meeting later, that public session will be at the end of the meeting after all of the votes have taken place. So if you want to address the board on any matters before it votes tonight, now is your time to do so. If you'd like to speak during this public hearing and you are in person, please fill out a speaker form and I will call you up to the podium. If you are online, please use the raise hand feature now. When you are recognized, you will be able to unmute yourself. So we'll begin the public hearing. Our first speaker is Diane Barrett. And there should be a microphone. This should be working. Tell me if it's not.
Hello.
Okay.
No.
Hello? Oh, it is.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good to see everyone. My name is Diane Barrett, and I am the Government Relations Specialist at Gutman Community College. I believe you know Robert. He is actually part of the board. I don't see him. I was looking for him. But I just wanted to introduce myself and let you tell you just quickly about Gutman. We are the youngest school at the City University of New York. We are what I would call, we kind of wrap ourselves around the students. We really go out of our way to come up with unique programs to help them fulfill their educational goals. And we're trying to bridge with you. We want to get to know you better to find out how, number one, we can be helpful to you, teach some of the students about civic responsibility, right? And also we're looking for different kind of ways to mentor the students, partnerships, helping them to find a way to find a job when they get out of school. And so I just wanted to come down here, introduce myself to you, let you know that I'm here. And I will be kind of poking myself at you over the next couple months. And so it's good to meet everybody. Please see me if you have any questions. Hope you have a good day or good evening.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Robert Schiffer.
With some of your students at SL Grade. Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Schiffer. I'm Executive Vice President Development for SL Green Realty Corp. I've been working with this community board since 2012, although I realize I think I'm a new face for almost everyone except for Nancy. I led the efforts to develop One Vanderbilt and specifically led the ULURP for One Vanderbilt. I led SL Green's efforts collectively with Dan Garodnick and Gail Brewer and this community board to rezone Greater East Midtown. And I led a very challenging public design commission process with DOT and this community board to create Vanderbilt Plaza. SL Green invested $220 million in public, private partnership with the MTA, the City of New York, and this community board. $220 million in benefits that we all enjoy today. They're a decade old, but we'll enjoy them for decades to come. During that process, we engaged this community board and its leadership. We presented our project. We presented. You responded, we listened. We changed our plans. We presented again. We listened again. And for the first time, by a private developer, we presented our budget. because you guys did not believe in the numbers that we presented, the financial information that we provided. So we sat down with leadership and we presented our entire budget to you. Vicky Barbaro said in 2014, and I quote, "Today they came through with a detailed report and an in-person meeting with the leadership, during which they attentively answered every question we posed. We are deeply appreciative of the good working relationship SL Green has now worked to establish with the task force and Community Board 5. We gained the trust of the board because as a public company and the largest commercial landlord in Manhattan, we have to be accountable. We live here and we work here. This process for the casino has been difficult. It's been difficult for you. It's been difficult for us because we've not been given the opportunity to engage, to sit down and have discourse and talk about the benefits, the problems, and how we can mitigate those problems."
If you could wrap up your comments, please. If you could wrap up your comments.
Sure, I just have a couple more. However, despite the process, we have tried to engage with you. Before you make a decision or vote on this project, please give us the opportunity to present our plan, to present the public benefits that are associated with it. This community board voted against One Vanderbilt, and I think we all know that was a mistake. Please don't make that mistake again.
Thank you. Next, we have Lisa Wager.
Hello, I'm Lisa Wager, Director of Government Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology, the SUNY College on West 27th, between 7th and 8th in the district. I'm here with an FIT update. Well, our students are back and campus is humming. Enrollment has inched up. Tuition remains the same, affordable, $5,500 for associate and $7,200 for bachelor's programs for New York State residents. And yes, that's annual tuition for our nearly 50-degree programs. And our students continue to demonstrate their commitment and focus with graduation rates that exceed SUNY and national averages by a lot. SUNY comprehensive colleges, 57%, national public colleges and universities, 64%, national private colleges, 67%, FIT, 81%. Just saying. So some more news on what we do well. FIT was recently designated an opportunity college in the Carnegie classification of institutes of higher ed, indicating how well FIT provides access to students from lower socioeconomic status and historically underrepresented backgrounds, and the degree to which these students go on to earn competitive wages in their professional fields. Only 16% of national colleges receive this designation, making this an exceptional recognition for our public college. On to an exhibition, Dreams, Dress, Dreams, and Desire, Fashion and Psychoanalysis. Opened this week at the museum at FIT, it's the first exhibition to explore the complex relationship between fashion and psychoanalysis. Curated by Dr. Valerie Steele, director of the museum at FIT, the exhibition will feature approximately 100 looks by designers such as McQueen, Schiaparelli, Gaultier, Gianni, and Donatella Versace, Giuliano, Rick Owens, Terry Mugler, Vivienne Westwood, and more. Described by Susie Menkes as the Freud of fashion, Steele has spent more than 5 years working on this exhibition and the accompanying book, which draws on the evolution of psychoanalytic ideas about sexuality and the unconscious, with sections devoted to themes such as the mirror stage, the skin ego, desire, and sexual difference. This is going to be an extraordinary show, widely covered and discussed. Absolutely a fall must-see. It's up till January 4th. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else in person who would like to speak who hasn't filled out a card? Okay, we'll go online and we'll start with Kim Tabbitt. Kim, you should in a moment be able to unmute yourself and speak. Kim, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, thank you. And I have to say I'm about to go into the Holland Tunnel. If I drop off, maybe you'll give me an opportunity at the end. I'm Kim Tabbitt. I am with the Flatiron 20th and 21st Street Block Association, just providing comment on the application for a liquor license at 39 West 19th Street. I have been I've taken part in the SLAP and the executive committee meeting, providing feedback from the community that has been very concerned about this application just because of the many problems that we've been facing because of the large amount of late night clubs in our area. I'm not totally exactly sure how this process works, but I had not seen the latest affidavit that I think is being presented to you today at the executive committee. So I just had two more requests that we think would really help protect the community if it is not too late. The applicant has reached out to the Block Association, so we know that they are in agreement with these. So number one is to provide more specific requirements for security, and that would be more in line with other CB5 affidavits with the existing clubs that give a minimum number of security guards and spell out how many have to be outside and identifiable, because that is very helpful for neighbors to monitor. And the second, the applicant already told the community that he would not apply for outdoor dining. So we would request that that be specified in the affidavit and not just that he has to notify Community Board 5 beforehand. And that is my commentary.
Thank you, Kim. Next, we'll go to Amy Jacobs.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, I'm Amy Jacobs, and I'm speaking against the Times Square SL Green Caesars casino proposal. I am in this neighborhood. It is my neighborhood. I live on 46th Street. I own a small theatrical business on 41st Street. This casino will hurt both my personal and my private lives. The congestion and the crime are already such that it is hard to get people to come to Broadway. The additional congestion that the casino will bring will only make that worse. The theatrical business that I own and operate is based on the administration of the Broadway workforce. We represent a good portion of that 100,000 Broadway workers in that we administer their payroll, administer their benefits, and most of them, I have to tell you, live paycheck to paycheck. The construction jobs for the casino can happen anywhere in the city. The Broadway jobs can only happen in Times Square. And if there is a casino put in Times Squares, those jobs will be put into jeopardy, and I'll be filling out more unemployment forms than I will be payroll forms. I strongly advise the committee to put the casino somewhere other than Times Square. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. We'll go to Julio Peterson.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. Julio Peterson. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate for the Schubert Organization, and we're in opposition to the casino in Times Square. Schubert Organization currently owns 9 theaters on 44, 45th Street between 8th and Broadway, and there are 3 additional Broadway theaters within these blocks. We think that the congestion, the potential amount of crime that it might generate, it is problematic. We also think that it'll increase prostitution and gambling addiction in the neighborhood. We also believe that the theaters are the lifeblood of the New York City economy and Times Square's economy, and to jeopardize that would be very hurtful. We employ a lot of individuals throughout the city, and we believe that this casino would provide more economic, direct and indirect economic benefits to the city at another location. This casino does not provide any additional housing or any other physical improvements to the area. SL Green has been offering and trying to buy the support of a lot of other organizations in the neighborhood, and we can't really expect them to fully come through with those promises. That's happened at the Barclays Center, where the housing that was promised is yet to be built, and we are in total opposition to this casino in Times Square. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Jason Lax.
Hi, this is Jason Lax. I'm the president of the Broadway League, and I'm here representing a vibrant industry that employs 100,000 New Yorkers every year. I'm urging the community board to approve the resolution recommending that the community board reject the casino application by Caesars. Ultimately, this is all about jobs. And the reality is that our industry supports hundreds of thousands of jobs: stagehands, ushers, box office workers, costume designers, lighting designers, actors, musicians. They all disappear. Our industry is really a tough one. And if you lose 10%, 5%, or even 1% of ticket sales to visitors who get pulled into a casino, the show can close, and it will close. The fact is, this is the only casino proposal out of the 8 that would cannibalize an existing industry. 3,000 construction jobs that the casino has been touting does sound like a lot, but out of the 8 casino bids, that ranks dead last, the lowest number of jobs created of any of the applications. For permanent, ongoing jobs, Caesar comes in 6th out of the 8 bids. So the jobs we're hearing about today, they'll all exist no matter where this casino goes, but this casino application actually supports the least amount of jobs of any of the proposed sites. Asking theaters and theater workers who have built back New York City tourism and have built back the entire industry to risk their livelihoods for a casino that comes dead last in job creation is honestly a slap in the face. And the fact that these casino operators have taken out an ad this morning slandering the name of Broadway Cares, one of the great charities in our industry, is really disgusting. And I think it speaks volumes about who they are and what their role is within their community and what kind of neighbors they will be.
Thank you, Jason. Is there anyone else online who would like to speak? Raise your hand now, please. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to pass it back to Brad.
Thank you, Yaron. I will now call to order the full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 5. I am Brad Sherburne, the chair. We will start our full board meeting by hearing from the elected officials that are in attendance in which to address the board. The elected officials will be followed by any representatives of other electeds who may report to the board for 2 minutes each. The board then enters into its business session, which consists of approval of the minutes, the district manager's report, chair's report, committee reports, and resolutions with a question and comment period, which we will then follow with new business. Lastly, we will then conduct a public session for those who would like to address the board on any item that was not covered during the meeting and that they did not speak to the board about during the public hearing, followed by adjournment. So I will start the evening's meeting calling on elected officials, and I believe Senator Gonzalez is with us.
Great, thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's really good to be here. I hear we have some new board members. If you're a new board member, raise your hand. Oh, wow. A lot of new board members. I'm very exciting to welcome you all to the board. If we haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Kristen Gonzalez. I'm the state senator for District 59. I'm in my 2nd term. District 59 is a 3-borough Senate district. It is Western Queens in Astoria, Long Island City, Northern Brooklyn in Greenpoint and Williamsburg, and the east side of Manhattan from 14th Street all the way up to the UN. So my office is on 42nd and 2nd Avenue, and I overlap a bit with this board from 14th Street up to 34th, I believe. If you live between Park and Lex, hi, I am your state senator. If you don't, that's okay. I'm still very happy to be here and be a part of this board. A little bit just about myself. I live in Long Island City. I am chair of the Senate Internet and Technology Committee. I'm also chair of the Senate Elections Committee. I'm the only senator to chair 2 committees. I'd like to think that our leadership saw me have a 3-borough district and said, well, she can split her time. She knows how to balance. But it's been, obviously an incredibly great legislative session in Albany. We had our legislative session from January to June. I know we had my staff member Peyton over there. Peyton, if you want to raise your hand, has come and given you consistent reports. So I won't rehash a lot of what happened in session, but again, happy to answer any questions about what happened this year. And then today I really just wanted to go into some updates from this summer. And then of course, what we're looking at for next legislative session. So before I get into that, I also just, of course, would be remiss not to acknowledge that it is a hard day and a very hard political moment. Today is 9/11, and yesterday we had 2 acts of violence in this country. We had a politically motivated assassination. We had a school shooting. And, I think just on a very human level, I had gotten a text from my mom today even saying, I'm worried, you shouldn't do like maybe open air events anymore. And I also was talking to some of my constituents who had lost family members. in 9/11. And the truth is, we're living in a very hard moment where so many of us have either been directly impacted by world events, but also a lot of us live in fear that maybe sometimes when our friends or family leave home, that we might not see them again. And I think it really speaks to the fact that, you know, we live in a world that has a lot of work to do, and that we all have a civic responsibility to build something better, because it does not have to be this way. And so for every person who may be having a hard day, who may be processing this just like me, I want you to say that I feel it too. I wanted to say that I feel it too. And I also wanted to really deeply thank you for being here at this board meeting, because some of the best ways that we can build that better world is by being engaged, building community, paying attention to the most local form of government, which is literally you all. Like, you are doing the work on the front lines. And I think seeing so many faces in this room today tells me that while the work, you know, is much, it's very heavy, and the road ahead is definitely going to be long. There are a lot of really good people who are willing to do it. So I wanted to just start with that. And again, I'm happy to talk more afterwards. But with that, some updates. Sorry, I know it's hard to shift from, like, you know, it's especially given everything. I wanted to let you all know that this summer we've been very busy. We, of course, had our back to school events. We gave out over 800 backpacks across the entire district. We've been planning community engagement sessions. I've been tabling throughout the district. I actually think I saw Samir, not to call you out, at McCarran the other day while I was tabling at McCarran Park. And we also are planning our, you know, federal cuts town hall on October 6th. So I wanted to invite you all, and some of you who are in my district may have received a mailer which has an example of all of the cuts that have happened at the federal level now that the reconciliation bill has been passed. And then also what we funded at the state level. So when it comes to transportation, we funded the MTA, food security, universal childcare, otherwise. So that town hall that we're having, again, is a virtual town hall. It'll get a little bit more into how we're looking at next session. And the truth is, we've been analyzing, again, what some of the loss in federal funding will mean for New York State. I think this is an important moment for you all to also be a part of this process and advocate for what you want to see us protect in our state budget. But it's going to be a hard one. So we're gearing up for that. We also, of course, are aware of some of the public safety concerns that have happened in the district. So along with Assemblymember Epstein and Councilmember Rivera, we did have an East 28th Street public safety tour that included the NYPD, that included sanitation, that included the DOT, I believe, and a few others. And so that walkthrough is essentially a first step at making sure that we're convening all the right stakeholders and actively addressing some of the violence that's happened there, but of course, also just some of the quality of life concerns. So if you have another street that needs a walkthrough or needs some attention, please reach out to us. Happy to hear it. And I think finally, I want to pause and can I take questions? Am I allowed to? Okay. I'm happy to take questions. I think the last thing I will probably put on all of your radar is we are also doing an in-district town hall in November. And I'm looking at Peyton because I know she wrote these lovely talking points. Oh, last thing, CDPAP. We just had a hearing. If you are someone who has a home care worker, you might have noticed that there was an interruption in service. That came from the state government's decision to take a bunch of fiscal intermediaries and transfer it to one fiscal intermediary to pay your home care worker, known as PPL. PPL has done an awful job. So the state Senate had a hearing on this, and we really challenged them on the fraud that's happened, on the non-compliance with their contract. And we have some good clips of that on my social media if you want to see what it looked like, what it sounded like. But if you've been impacted by CDPAP, please again reach out, because we are going to make sure that your care is continuous. So that was the last thing, and I'm happy to answer some questions and take some questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks.
We'll take a couple questions. Are there any questions?
Wow, so thorough.
Great job. Thank you.
Oh, I see one over here. Sorry. Yeah.
Eugene, grab a microphone.
Yeah.
We have, I think Kieran, I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is good. Can you please just clarify on the CDPAP fraud or whoever was impacted? Is it family to family care, like a daughter taking care of her father who's on Medicaid and she's getting paid through the agency? Is that what you're talking about?
So if you are a family member taking care of someone in your home, there are actually different programs and different funding streams for you. So I don't know necessarily if it would have been through the CDPAP program. This is really for working home care professionals who are who are placed with a family member or someone that you know in their homes. So the fiscal intermediary is really how, again, those people get their paycheck, right? Because the constituent patient, New Yorker, they're not the ones directly paying their home care worker. So the fraud that we saw was a couple of things. One, PPL, which is supposed to be one of the biggest in the country that does this exact work. There was a very documented case of fraud within the company, someone taking money, and now there is a legal case that is happening. And then in addition, as they transitioned to paying being the one company, they, in their contract, of course, have to pay people in a timely manner. There were home care workers who did not receive a paycheck. So they didn't have the money to pay their car bills, to pay for their rent. There were literally documented cases of people losing their cars because they could not make the payment. And PPL will maintain that it is because simply, maybe the person didn't fill out their paperwork correctly. Maybe they'll blame a lot of different things. But ultimately what our hearing showed, which was over 7 hours, was there's a lot of mismanagement and lack of accountability within PPL. And that is also in part due to the Department of Health not holding them accountable. So we'll be working on that. But right now there are people who are still, not seeing continuity of service. And we want to make sure that those constituents know they can call us, and we're here to literally call PPL and make sure that, payments are happening and they receive their care. Yeah.
Sure. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Senator.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And again, welcome to the new board members. Thank you.
Hey, I don't believe we have any other elected with us. So we will now go to representatives of electeds, starting with Mackie Bentley from Representative Nadler.
Good evening, everyone. I want to provide a few updates. As of last week, as many of you may have heard, Congressman Nadler announced that he will not be seeking re-election next year after serving more than 32 years for the people of New York City in Congress. While this was a difficult decision, he felt that it was the right time to pass the torch along to the next generation. And he is deeply grateful for the chance to be able to serve both Manhattan and Brooklyn for all of those years. But as he finishes his term, he will still be representing New York City on DC, and our office will still be available for any casework requests or any community issues. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. In other updates, Congressman Nadler and colleagues introduced the Protecting Communities from Helicopter Noise Act. The bipartisan bill is one of several pieces of legislation introduced in response to the rampant helicopter noise in the New Jersey, New York area. It's in direct response to the FFA to study the impacts of helicopters on the safety of airspace and helicopter noise within a 20-mile radius of the Statue of Liberty, and to examine solutions to divert helicopters away from residents and recreational area. And then last but not least, our office is accepting submissions for the Congressional App Challenge. It is open to all middle school and high school students who reside in New York's 12th Congressional District. Submissions are open until October 30th of this year. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to help. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I think that is it for in person. So we'll move online, starting with Lori H. from Councilmember Bottcher's office.
Hi, good evening, Brad and CB5. I just have 2 items to present. Last month, as you may have heard, the New York City Council voted to approve the Midtown South Mixed Use Plan, also known as MSMX. That's a once-in-a-generation rezoning led by the council member alongside Councilmember Keith Powers. This plan tackles our housing crisis, protects good-paying jobs in the Garment District, creates public spaces, and invests in the infrastructure that makes neighborhoods thrive. The plan unlocks 9,535 new homes, including up to 2,842 permanently affordable apartments, It protects the garment district as a global center of fashion manufacturing, backed by $121.9 million in targeted investments. It reimagines Broadway from 21st to 42nd Street as a continuous park-like promenade with over $325 million for pedestrian plazas, bike lanes, landscaping, and play areas. And it delivers the long-awaited 34th Street car-free busway, improving bus speeds, reliability, and accessibility. We believe the investment in parks, schools, healthcare ensures Midtown South grows as a neighborhood that's livable and equitable. And yesterday, the council voted on the council member's Reso 362. It's his resolution calling on the New York State to pass the Social Worker Workforce Act. This state legislation was introduced by Assembly Member Gonzalez Rojas and State Senator Brooke. It repeals the examination requirement for becoming a licensed master social worker as an outdated barrier. The bill would allow graduates from accredited Master of Social Work programs to be licensed upon graduation, and it's increasing the immediate availability of social workers. The exam disproportionately affects people of color and other groups. We believe it creates undue financial burdens and does not accurately assess professional competence. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lori. Next up is Isamar Brito from Councilmember Rivera's office.
Hello, good evening. I hope everyone's doing well. I just have a quick little update for you all. I'm here on behalf of City Council District 2, and throughout the last few months, our office has seen many changes, the biggest of which are with regard to our former councilwoman who stepped down in late August. So the position is currently vacant, but City Council District 2's office is still open and dedicated to constituent services. So we highly suggest that if you live in our district, you continue to reach out if you need any sort of assistance, and we are open and available to assist with constituent related issues. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you very much. Next up is Braca Rosenberg from the Borough President's office.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk really fast because I have a lot to get through. So budget allocations. This year, the Borough President's proud to direct over $55 million in capital funding across the borough. For example, right here in CB5, we're proud to be investing $1 million into the American LGBTQ+ Museum at the New York Historical Society. This is intended to help build a new wing that will house this vital museum, marking a powerful step toward a more inclusive telling of our history. A complete list of our capital allocations for this year can be found on our website. In terms of the ferry network optimization plan, the survey closed on September 1st. We actually sent a letter to EDC requesting that they extend the comment period, echoing the requests of CBs 1, 6, 8, and 11, but unfortunately they did not. They have assured us, however, that they will still be incorporating CB feedback that they get in September. The Borough President penned an op-ed in AM New York renewing calls for expanded ferry service in Upper Manhattan, starting with a connection to the 121st Street Pier. You can see that op-ed on our website as well. I want to flag that we're partnering with Con Ed next Thursday on September 18th from 2 to 6 p.m. at our office at 1 Center Street, 19th floor. Your Con Ed representative will be available to answer any questions you may have about your Con Ed account, and attendees will have the opportunity to get to know community nonprofits, as well as our own constituent services team. We also want to invite you to march with us in the African American Day Parade on Sunday, September 21st. Contact events at manhattanbp.nyc.gov to RSVP, learn about more upcoming opportunities. Please join us at the official Manhattan Borough President's Office Hispanic Heritage Month celebration on September 25th. The event will take place at 6 p.m. at the Sugar Hill Children's Museum of Art and Storytelling at 898 St. Nicholas Avenue. There's a link to RSVP I'm happy to share as well. On October 18th from 10 to 3, as part of Open House New York, we'll be showing the Randall map, aka the original map of Manhattan, also at 1 Center Street. We also have a college fair coming up on October 25th at Baruch U College. We'll share more details on that soon next month. To help families prepare for back to school, we released our revised back to school resource guide. Sorry, the guide has resources including extracurriculars, education and job preparation, financial aid and mentoring, etc. We added a section with resources for immigrant students and families this year, and additional resources for students with disabilities. You can find that on our website under resources. and Manhattan Borough President Back to School Guide. We are happy to wrap up a busy back to school season of backpack giveaways across the borough, and we're excited to turn our attention to turkey giveaways for Thanksgiving coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Justin Flagg from Senator Liz Krueger's office.
Hello, everyone. I'm Justin Flagg. I'm standing in for Alex Marinides tonight. Just a couple of quick things. We just mailed out our annual Albany update with details on bills that have passed this session. So if you're registered to vote in Senator Krueger's district, you should have received one of those in the mail. It also includes details of some events we have coming up. So if you didn't get one and you'd like to read it, you can find it on our website, krueger.nysenate.gov. And I know you're considering a resolution on the proposed Times Square casino. So you're likely aware that the Community Advisory Committee is holding a public hearing on it right now. And I'm sure you know also that Senator Krueger has been and remains staunchly opposed to a casino in Manhattan and in Times Square in particular. I just want to reiterate that individuals still have time to submit comments directly to the Community Advisory Committee, which has until September 30th to take action on the proposal. So you can send in those comments. You can learn more about how to do that at nycasinos.ny.gov. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then I think next is Ben Jacobs from Councilmember Power's office.
Hey, thanks. You just said I'm Ben Jacobs from Councilmember Keith Power's office. I'm Councilmember Power's chief of staff. Franklin is out today, and he will return next month to your regularly scheduled programming. So apologies in advance. But we'll just go through. We had a very busy summer at Councilmember Power's office. We had a couple of big land use projects that went through the city council, including the Lenox Hill Hospital project that's up in CB8. And the Midtown South mixed use plan that Lori went into, which I don't need to tell all of you about. Almost 10,000 units of new housing with almost 3,000 affordable. We're very proud of the work that Councilmember Powers and Councilmember Botcher were able to do and negotiate on behalf of the community and their districts. We want to really thank CB5 for all of your work throughout the land use process and the points of agreement and all of your advocacy there. One of the points of agreement we were able to negotiate at the end was for the 34th Street busway, which I know has been a big subject of discussion over the last few months and years. That DOT is hoping to implement this year. They agreed to restart work on that. We are meeting with the Department of Transportation as well as the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association in our district, which I know is a little further over in CB6, but we just want to make sure that all the community feedback is heard and incorporated in the project before it's finally implemented. We also, Councilman Powers had his bill to codify the city cooling center program, Intro 998, passed last month. That will become law on Sunday or before then, if the mayor decides to sign it before then. But it had 46 co-sponsors in the city council. Cooling centers will be codified as part of local law, and that program will be expanded and maintained throughout. I will just quickly mention, if folks are interested in the casino proposal over on the east side between 38th Street and 41st Street on First Avenue, the so-called Freedom Plaza, which is the Soloviev Group and Mohegan Sun proposal for a casino. That Community Advisory Council meeting is happening on Monday from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Please wrap up.
And I'm sure you can find all of those details online as well. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Alexander Garcia from the DA's office.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to make some quick announcements. Our office recently announced the indictment of Jaden Clark, a 17-year-old accused of shooting 3 people in Times Square in August 2025. Clark is charged with multiple counts, including 3 counts each of attempted murder in the 2nd degree and attempted assault in the 1st degree, as well as other charges related to criminal possession of a weapon. The incident took place on August 9, 2025, near West 44th Street and Broadway. After a verbal exchange with another individual, Clark allegedly fired 3 shots. The bullet struck a 19-year-old man, a 64-year-old man visiting with his family, and an 8-year-old woman in a passing car with her family. Our office also recently announced the indictment of Anthony Smith for the alleged sexual assault of a woman in Midtown in August 2025. According to the indictment, Smith is charged with attempted rape in the first degree, sexual abuse in the first degree, and strangulation in the second degree. As detailed in court documents, on August 10th at approximately 3:30 a.m. on West 47th Street near 8th Avenue, Smith allegedly approached a woman from behind, placed her in a chokehold until she lost consciousness, then sexually assaulted her before fleeing the scene. He was arrested on August 13. Lastly, in today's op-ed for the New York Daily News, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg Jr. addressed the common misconceptions about rape, emphasizing that rape is rape regardless of the circumstances. The article highlights that while the media often focuses on attacks by strangers, most sexual assault cases handled by his office involve perpetrators known to the victim. In addition, he states that these crimes are frequently committed by an acquaintance, a date, or a current or former partner. To address the reality, our office created the Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Bureau, which combines sex crimes and domestic violence practices. Our message is that our office will take all reports seriously, regardless of when the assault occurred, whether money or substances were involved, or the nature of the relationship with the perpetrator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next up is Sierra Lugo from Assemblymember Epstein's office.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sierra Lugo, and I'm the newest addition to Team Harvey. I'm very excited to be here at this meeting, even if it's virtually, seeing as this is my first Community Board 5 meeting, but definitely not my last. So I'll just keep it brief and short. We also, much like Senator Gonzalez, had a very busy summer. So I just wanted to update you guys on 2 things. So in August, we partnered with Senator Gonzalez to send a letter to the Department of Finance opposing the Medicare supplement rate change. We know that this proposed increase of over 30% will create a significant financial burden to recipients. And now in August, Harvey stood with New York class outside of City Hall to say the City Council must pass Rider's Law now. Over 70% of New Yorkers support this. And early last week, the Central Park Conservancy announced its support for the ban. Harvey is very adamant on this predatory practice being banned immediately. So that is all of the reports that I have for you. Thank you, guys.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Sierra. Are there any other electeds? They're online or in person, or representatives? Okay. Seeing none, we will now enter into the business session of the board, where, as I mentioned, only board members are allowed to speak. Board members attending virtually, please remember to have your videos on during the meeting. So we are now entering the business session, starting with a vote to accept the July meeting minutes. May I have a motion and a second? Okay. As a reminder to all members, we are conducting voting using the Google form sent to you by our Secretary Milan yesterday. Please use this Google form to cast your vote. If you are in person and do not have a device capable of casting this vote, or if you're having issues or need assistance, the board office is available with additional devices for members to cast their votes. For members attending virtually, please let us know in the Zoom chat if you are having issues. So next, we will move into the district manager's report. So you're up, Marisa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marisa Mock, District Manager for Community Board 5. Welcome back. I hope you all had a nice summer. The office was busy over the summer. We welcomed a new staff member, Isabel Jordan, in the back. We arranged or participated in a number of walkthroughs to address ongoing issues at Columbus Circle, Broadway Plaza, 16th Street. I'm happy to speak to anybody about those offline, but tonight, actually, I want to talk to you about the UN General Assembly. The West 50s is often highly impacted by street closures, and in the past, residents and building employees have been restricted from leaving or returning to their buildings for very long periods of time. The world's Grand Poobahs will descend starting the week of September 23rd through September 29th. And to address some of the impacts the district has felt in the past, I met with NYPD last week and confirmed the processes for residents and employees that need access to their block or building during the street freezes that happened during that week. So here they are. Residents should carry either photo ID that has their address on it, or photo ID without the address, such as a passport, and a current utility bill that shows the address. If they show that ID or ID and utility bill to the command post officer, they should be given access and able to proceed to their building. These officers are identifiable by their light blue polo shirts that say NYPD Community Affairs in yellow writing. They will be stationed in the upper 50s. If you don't see those officers, please let any NYPD officer know that you need them, as they may be escorting someone directly. There will be a phone number available for that command post from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. throughout the week. I don't have that number yet, but I'll let you know once I receive it. And we are still working on contingency plans for the later hours. For those that need access and don't have an ID or a utility bill, a building employee, for example, they should carry an employee ID if they have it, photo ID, and a letter from their building stating that they are an employee or have a right to be in that building. Please have the buildings email me directly a copy of their letterhead. I will forward that to the command post so they have it on file and can quickly identify that any letter is legitimate. You should send that to office@cb5.org. Also, please don't assume that a bike will be treated differently from a car during any street closures. It will end badly for you if you do. Does anybody have any questions on this procedure?
Tom, grab a mic first, though.
So an NCY ID would work as a
Yes.
federal ID?
Yes. If it doesn't have your address on it, make sure you have a current utility bill to go with it.
Anyone else? Samir? I think it's down here.
But yeah, you should see a green light.
Do you mind just repeating the boundaries of the area again?
It's in the upper 50s between usually the impact varies year to year depending on where dignitaries are staying. There's a lot of boutique hotels in that area, so it's very hard to say. But in the past, generally, the most impacted areas have been 55th Street through 59th Street, 5th to 8th. So the command post will be stationed in that area.
Any other questions?
Okay, thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you, Marisa. Okay, we will now move into the chair's report. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some time this summer to recharge, spend time with your friends and family, and are ready to get back to our important work. It's great to see so many of you here tonight as we kick off what is sure to be a busy and meaningful year. First, I want to extend an invitation to anyone who may not have applied, but is still interested in serving as an alternate for our bid reps. All the primary roles are currently spoken for, but the secondary roles, there are many options to serve as a backup for those. Those roles are a great way to get more involved in the day-to-day life of our district, and they're especially valuable for newer members who want to get involved and learn more about how bids function in our district. If you'd like to put your name forward, please reach out to me after the meeting. Next, thank you to those who responded about the parliamentary training being offered by the Borough President's Office. We will be sharing more details about that as soon as they're available. This will be a great opportunity to brush up on the basics of how we run our meetings, and also how members can participate most effectively. So I encourage you all to check it out once we have the details ironed out. I want to take a moment tonight to remind everyone that we'll be voting on the updates to our bylaws. For those who are newer to the board, the bylaws are essentially the rules for how we run the board. Reviewing and updating them helps us stay transparent, consistent, and effective in the way we do our work together. Yaron will take us through the latest changes proposed later on in the meeting, and there's also a copy of the changes on the table by the door. On a more somber note, I want to share with you all that our former colleague and longtime member, Joe Mafia, passed away in August. Joe gave many years of thoughtful service to this board and to the community, and he will be very much missed. On behalf of all of us, I want to thank him for his dedication and extend our heartfelt condolences to his friends and family. And before we wrap up, I also want to announce that we have 3 new board members. Please welcome me in joining John Klein, who's with us online, Lev Kimagarov, who is with us in person, and Mandy Yang, who can't make it tonight, but I'm sure will be here next time. So please, thank you. We're excited to have your voices, your perspectives, and your energy as we as part of our work going forward. So that concludes the chair's report. Thank you all. We will now move to the committee reports and resolutions, starting with the executive committee on behalf of SLAP. You're up, Seth.
All right. Thanks, Brad. So SLAP had one resolution this week for a liquor license. May I have the reso deemed read?
So deemed.
Right. So this was, as I said, an application for a liquor license for a large restaurant and event space at 39 West 19th Street. Melissa did an excellent work on due diligence for this application. Her first one as a SLAP member. So that was great. The original application called for a restaurant across a ground floor space as well as a cellar floor. It had a capacity of 409 and a total floor area of 13,000 square feet. And the original request called for a live DJ, 2 a.m. close time every night of the week. And then the business model was to have sort of a dinner and a show, so like a supper club type model. The proposed location of the premises falls within our committee's restricted licensing area, which calls for a last seating of midnight Sunday through Wednesday and 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday, with the understanding that establishments close 45 minutes to 1 hour after last seating. It also calls us to limit venues over 4,000 square feet in size, require a full kitchen, and several other requirements of the establishments. So before our meeting, we also received substantial negative feedback from the community on this application. So ahead of the meeting, we had a lot of negotiation because of all of this. And we were able to negotiate to have them have a close time in compliance with the RLA, ensure that the sound that they make meets NYC noise code, and meet other standard restrictions on sanitation and others. And then at the community meeting, or sorry, at the committee meeting, many members of the community joined to voice their opinion, also mostly in opposition. We heard concerns regarding crime, late night noise, sanitation, traffic, and hours, among other things. So we had a very passionate discussion afterward among the committee, trying to address the valid concerns while preserving the ability of the applicant to operate. We adhered to a precedent in the RLA for RLA applications where larger venues have additional restrictions to limit late night noise. So we did go beyond our usual requirements of venues in the RLA and actually push close times to 1 hour earlier. So instead of being just last seating at midnight, it's now a close time of midnight, Sunday through Wednesday, and then a 1 a.m. close time, Thursday through Saturday. We also agreed to other restrictions on ticketed events and the use of DJs. We unanimously voted in favor of these stipulations at our SLAP meeting last week, 10-0-0-0, but since we did not have quorum, we also we had to formally vote on the resolution at exec, where it was approved with one abstention, 11-0-1-0.
Are there any conflicts? Any questions? You're on.
So as we heard from the neighborhood association, there are two additions that she says that the applicant has agreed to. Do you plan to offer those as amendments to your own resolution here tonight?
That is a good question. And yeah, thank you for raising. So I wrote these down. I think the security guards, I think we can accommodate that in the spirit of what we've already voted on.
Okay.
But I think
no outside dining.
Outdoor dining, I think would be something that we'd have to add as a.
So she represented that the applicant had agreed to this, but you are not aware of that. So we wouldn't just be able to, is that
I'm
what you're saying?
personally aware of that, but I believe that that wouldn't be something that the applicant would be uncomfortable with. So I think we could offer it as an amendment, and I think it would be acceptable.
Marisa, has the office received anything that you're aware of? Sorry to interrupt. Okay. And just for those online, I don't know if you can hear or not, Marisa said essentially, no, we have not received anything. So the board itself is not aware of those agreements being made. Go ahead, Catherine. Grab a microphone now. Grab them.
I was going to say, In the meeting, the applicant did explicitly say that they were not going to apply for any outdoor dining. I don't know if that as way they explicitly said that. So,
Yeah.
and then the other issue that came up that was discussed just now was about security, and there is pretty good detail about security and cameras in the affidavit.
No, those are great points, Catherine. I think in the meeting, you're right. The applicant did definitely express that they would be comfortable with it. So I don't think it would be too hard of an addition to make, but it isn't something technically we voted on. But yeah.
Do you want to make the amendment?
I would like to, yeah, if we could make the amendment, I think I'd be comfortable with it.
Do you have language that you might be able to propose for us to?
Let me think. So we would essentially modify, let me find it here. Yeah, so on lines 92 and 93, instead of whereas applicant agrees to provide notice to CB5 before applying for outdoor dining, applicant agrees not to apply for outdoor dining.
So
yeah.
On line 92, where it says applicant agrees to provide notice to CB4 before applying for outdoor dining, we would amend that to say applicant agrees to not apply for outdoor dining. CB5. Yes, what did I say? Oh, sorry. Okay, yes, CB5 agrees to not apply agrees to not apply for outdoor dining.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, can I get a motion? Can I get a second? All right. All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? All right, motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Comments? Okay, seeing none. All right, let's take this to a vote. So on the Google Forms, please. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take us quickly out of business session because I see Assemblymember Boris is with us.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for allowing me to join late, and apologies for scrambling the agenda of this meeting. I had a memorial I was rushing from, and appreciate your flexibility there. It's great to be back with all of you. Before I get into the official update, I'm going to share a slight personal update, which is that 3 or so weeks ago, my wife and I had our first child. And so thank you. And so I'm technically on paternity leave for another couple of weeks. My office is up and fully running for any of the needs that you have. But as we came back into the fall season, I really wanted to be here to at least virtually say hi to all of you. On to the official update. I just want to start by addressing both the violence we've seen in our country. Yesterday, a shooting of political violence and a school shooting on the same day. The violence that we saw in our community, in this very community board, a month before at 345 Park, and emphasize that the state legislature is doing all that it can to prevent gun violence, and still we need action at the federal level to really keep everyone safe. But something that we as an office, and I know others, gave as an update back in May when it passed, but I think is worth reiterating in light of all of that, is that in this past budget, we invested $347 million to strengthen the New York State Office of Gun Violence Prevention, not directly in response to, but hopefully starting to make up a little bit of the gap of the White House Office of Gun Violence Protection, which was completely shut down by this administration. And we're going to be calling on our federal leaders to take action to ensure that we are kept safe. In New York, I additionally have bills on smart gun usage and on banning .50 caliber weapons, and we'll continue to look in every nook and cranny in order to keep all New Yorkers safe. The second big thing I wanted to highlight was my work around AI and keeping New Yorkers safe from frontier research and the risks that come with it. While I'm very excited about all the innovation that can come from this technology, and in fact worked on it in the private sector before running for office, there's basic safety precautions that every major developer has claimed they will follow, but some have started slipping. The legislature overwhelmingly passed my RAISE Act to put basic safety standards. The last day of session for the Senate and third to last day of the Assembly, it passed with bipartisan majorities in both houses, and now awaits the governor's signature. And though 84% of New Yorkers support it, a venture capital firm based in California has said that they are opening a $100 million super PAC specifically to spend against any AI regulation at the state level, focused on 4 states, California, Ohio, Illinois, and of course, New York. And so expect to hear a lot more about this as they turn up the temperature and we try to ensure that the governor follows the will of New Yorkers. On more local aspects, we are hosting a shred truck event on October 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. right outside our district office at 40th and Lex. And I will end with the update that our office now provides free notary services Monday to Thursday, 10 to 2. Any document that you have that you need to be notarized, you can come into our office and have notarized for free. And with that, I thank you all for your time and your flexibility in the agenda today, and really glad that I got to join. Thanks for listening.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move back into business session. Next up is land use, housing, and zoning. I think David Sigmund, where he is, yeah, there he is, will be presenting a multimedia presentation. Yeah, that's fine, but you need a mic, yeah.
Okay. I thought I was really smart coming up with this Shakespeare. Yeah, is that on? Sorry. I thought I was really smart coming up with this Shakespeare quote, but then I listened into the public meeting today, and you know it's Broadway, so there were a lot of people that that had really smart Shakespeare quotes. Yeah. So we thought it would be helpful, just given how compressed the timeline on this has been, and you know it's in the public eye, and there are a lot of pieces to it, to give everybody some background into what the process has been that got us here, you know, who's involved, how does this process work. We'll give you a briefing on what the Caesars Times Square proposal actually was, and then get into some of these community benefits that were mentioned, you know, even at the beginning of today's session. We'll talk about that. We'll give you the history of our action as a community board, and actually some of our fellow community boards. And then I can walk through an outline of the proposed resolution and kind of what our thinking was in putting it together. So I'm not going to read this, but this process has been going on for a really long time. The whole idea of legalized gambling in New York went back to 2013. And at the time, the focus was on licenses for upstate New York, and those were all awarded. And then in 2022, the whole process that would apply to downstate was created as part of the state budget. And that identified 3 licenses, 30-year term for each of those licenses that would apply to downstate. So that dates back to 2022. A 3-member gaming facility location board was created that would make the decisions of however many applications were received, which 3 would be granted licenses. So that entity exists. That's 3 private citizens. I think they're actually, it's been expanded, but private citizens who sit on that board, and they exist only for the purpose of making the decision about where these facilities are going to be located. 8 applications were filed by the deadline this past June. 3 of them are in Manhattan. Only one of those is in our community district. The other one's in Yonkers, and the rest of them are in Queens. One in Brooklyn, in Coney. And then for each of the applications, a community advisory committee was created. So 8 applications, 8 community advisory committees, and the members there are appointed by the electeds in the district. You can see the list all the way from the governor to the city council member. And there is no ULURP for this. It's a totally separate state process. In fact, it's not, we see we see a lot of Empire State Development applications. That's a state process, but that's even different from what this is. So this process was created for this purpose only. There were some enabling actions that had to happen. It was very much of a wait then hurry up process. So in order for gambling to be legal by zoning, the city ended up passing an act that didn't go through ULURP the way land use applications typically would. And so basically all of the locations were made legal as gambling locations through an act of the city. And so the process didn't really get going until that was finished. A lot of the individual applications, some of them sit on parkland. They needed their own land use approvals. And so those, you had to get that before you could submit your application. And so the timing kept getting pushed out until those were completed. But we're now at the end of the process. The CACs, the community advisory committees, need to vote by the end of this month, which is why we have to deal with it at this meeting. And then it goes up to this gaming facility location board. They have to make their decision by December 1st. And then finally, it goes to the State Gaming Commission, which is a standing entity, and that will award the licenses by the end of the year. And, that timing is important because it's also the end of the current gubernatorial term. So that's the background. Part of what you'll hear from us is that, as I said, it was sort of a wait then hurry up process. It really didn't get going until like June. And then most of the activity was all done in like July and August when we were on hiatus. And now it's all getting wrapped up in the fall. So a lot of what you'll hear tonight is that we were acting under a lot of pressure. A lot of information wasn't available in time for us to digest it. There was no engagement with the applicant. I think when we tried in July, it overlapped with other public hearings. It overlapped with our board meeting. So we were really never able to find dates to sit down with the applicant on this. So it's been a very abbreviated process. So here's the summary of what their proposal is. The applicant is Caesars, the gaming company, SL Green, the landlord, Live Nation, the concert promoter, Rock Nation, Jay-Z. And then there's this concept of neighborhood, individuals would be able to sort of buy an interest in the applicant at some sometime in the future. It's a $5.5 billion adaptive reuse of an existing office building. It's on the west side of Broadway between 44th and 45th Streets. There actually is a tenant in there. Paramount is in there. And their lease expires in 2031. And the assumption is that they'll be bought out. They're actually shrinking in the building. The program, as you see here, is a very large hotel. Actually, part of it is Nobu, but it's 1,000 rooms altogether, 150,000 foot casino. SL Green, as they mentioned, built One Vanderbilt, which has a summit rooftop view thing. Well, this is going to have one of those as well. Jay-Z is doing a 40/40 club, which will also have the Caesars Sportsbook in it. And we'll talk about this some more, but there are only 4 restaurants. And there's one theater, an 1,800 seat Broadway theater that's being rebuilt below grade in the building. There is some existing parking. That's all being removed, except for 50 accessory parking spots that are really meant more for VIPs and, you know, if it's, or for, you know, vehicles associated with the operation. The only real parking will be in a remote lot in a building that's owned by SL Green, a few blocks north and west of the site. And in terms of sort of traffic management, they've come up with this idea of geofencing the Uber and other ride share so that they're not trying to get into the bow tie area of Times Square to pick people up. They'll be geofenced so that all of that activity has to happen, you know, northwest, east, and south of the bow tie and clear them out of the center of Times Square. The issue that keeps coming up is just the risks to the population of gambling, and Caesars has offered up essentially their existing responsible gaming policy, and from a design standpoint, they agreed not to put any gambling facilities on the ground floor or on the street frontage so that you don't have passersby kind of wandering in and gambling. If you want to gamble, you're going to have to try. You're going to have to go into the building and go up to the floors that where the gaming facilities are located. So as a way of kind of eliminating that, you know, whatever least common denominator of somebody who might want to gamble because they can just wander in off the street. You can see the jobs, you know, 3,000 construction jobs. I think the comment was made that it's the lowest. I mean, it's the lowest because it's an adaptive reuse of an existing building. They're not starting from scratch. And the scale here is actually smaller than a number of the other proposals. So that's why the construction job number is lower. The 3,800 permanent jobs is fairly similar to the other proposals. You know, I think Caesars made the comment that because of this location, they would expect to be the top revenue producer. Other applications have run calculations that show them producing higher revenues, so I would call that one undecided. But the important thing here is they're forecasting $7 billion of tax revenue over the 10-year forecast period, and that is earmarked for MTA operations. So the other, well, and we'll talk about this a little bit more on another page, but I think certainly the other two Manhattan proposals and many of the other outer borough proposals are creating housing as part of their proposals. This proposal does not do that. And the argument was that because it's an adaptive reuse of an existing building, they're not taking developable land that could have been used for housing. And therefore, you know, they I guess didn't feel obligated to provide replacement housing, or, you know, so we'll talk a little bit about how this compares to the other bids. I mean, I will say that there are like 5 Times Square, which is something that land use and the board acted on a couple of months ago. That's a conversion of a very similar office building on the south side of 42nd Street. So in theory, this building, I suppose, could be converted the way that building is. Can you argue that therefore they're taking away housing? I mean, it's all, you know, not much of an argument. The interesting thing is, and it was mentioned in some of the introductory remarks, there are kind of 2 major groups that are on either side of this. There's the Coalition for a Better Times Square, which was formed by SL Green and Caesars. And it's a mix of Times Square businesses, the construction unions, particularly a lot of the property owners, and the kind of chain hotel owners are supporting that. The Con Group, as mentioned, the Broadway League, a number of the individual theater operators, and Broadway unions, a lot of the independent restaurants, as opposed to a lot of chain restaurants that are in the Coalition for Better Times Square. I mean, germane for us is that all of the neighborhood associations are active on the Con Group, the No Times Square Casino Coalition. There, you know, and that's as a general comment, there's a pretty bright division between who's in which group. That we didn't really see a lot of overlap. You know, as I said, for us, it's important that the block associations and other constituents of ours are firmly in the con group. And also, interestingly, the Times Square Alliance, the bid for that area has remained neutral. They did not come out either way on this proposal. Okay, so I'll summarize. I have a slide with a little more detail. This $250 million number has been relatively fixed over time, but where it's going has been shifting around. And actually, at today's hearing, they presented information that we hadn't seen before. So this slide was updated this afternoon, and I've got detail that we had not really seen before, if there are questions. But there is a catch-all $83 million, which is literally like $8 million a year for 10 years to enhance public safety. They've got former police commissioner Bill Bratton is their advisor, and they would be supplementing, what we see as the sort of Times Square police presence. And what was described in today's hearing is, pretty high tech and a lot of resources going into enhancing public safety in the area. I will, just to kind of back up a little bit. So these community support numbers are kind of all over the place, depending on kind of how competitive each of the bid areas were. Like the Resorts World Aqueduct bid and the Yonkers bid, which are kind of seen as shoo-ins because they're existing gambling operations. They really did not spend much in terms of, these kind of community benefits. They've been making donations to community groups over time. But these would end up in a separate community benefit agreement, as opposed to somehow in the license itself. They're a separate document that would support these. And so I don't think they're a basis, for instance, of losing your license, as an example. So 83 million for public safety. There's a bunch of subcategories, but they all kind of rolled up into general support of the theater community. And some of it is childcare for theater workers. Some of it is buying tickets for casino gamblers. Some of it is subsidizing tickets for other groups. So it's general support of the theater community. Public facilities, some of it's improvements that were identified in the environmental impact statement. Some of it is just general enhancement of public parks and things like that. There are some homeless services. It's a laundry list that adds up to $40 million. This $15 million for the West Side Community Fund has been a discussion topic because it started as a donation to Manhattan Plaza, which is on 42nd Street between 9th and 10th. And everybody felt like that was completely inappropriate. So that was canceled and then replaced by this donation to the West Side Community Fund, which is a relatively small, up to this point, that's an organization that's given out maybe $1 million a year, if that. And Related sits on that board, and it's mostly focused further west. But they're using that as was kind of mentioned to us in a previous discussion. They're kind of using it as a clearinghouse. They're donating $15 million to it. They're donating some revenues each year depending on their profitability, and it would be sort of a catch-all for any community needs in the area with its own board. Civil Rights Museum, this is a Reverend Al Sharpton item. And so they're creating a civil rights museum somewhere in Times Square and funding it with $15 million. One Times Square is owned by another development firm, but they worked out an arrangement to create, I think, 34 public restrooms, and the casino would be paying the cost of that work and the maintenance of it. Callan Lord is a pretty well-known health facility operator in the Chelsea area. They would be building a community health center further west in Hell's Kitchen. And so this is support for that. And then on top of, because if you add this up, it adds up to 253 million. So the last 3 million is money that's going to go into Caesars responsible gaming program. So that's kind of the gambling addiction piece of this. So the big statement that was made is that the on-site facilities in the hotel, the restaurants, none of those meet the total demand of the people that will be coming into the facility. There's only 4 restaurants, and so they projected that annually, I think it's annually, they'll be driving another 14 million meals over the course of the year in outside restaurants, that the hotel itself is not large enough to accommodate the full demand. And so they'll be driving 1 million room nights in other hotels in the area. There's only 1 theater in the current building versus what was described as 3. I'm sorry, in the proposed building, 3 in the current building. And so that was going to drive something like, and plus just general demand, was going to drive 800,000 additional theater tickets. There's no retail in the proposed building. And so that would drive $900 million of shopping outside the building. And if you add all of this up and you multiply it by 10 for 10 years, and the forecast period, it's $27 billion of new revenue to the neighboring businesses. There was a concept in the selection process that you had to be able to demonstrate at least $500 million of general community economic development. And so this seems to have exceeded the, I don't know if it's the right number, but it's a heck of a lot more than $500 million. So we'll check that box. For comparison, just to scale some of this. So Avenir is the proposal in Hell's Kitchen. It's the Silverstein Properties owns the site. They've owned it for a number of years. It's another operator, gambling company called, I think, Rush. And so their proposal is a guaranteed $160 million over 8 years, and the potential for up to $400 million total over 20 years contingent on profitability. So it's getting complicated. They have interesting partners in this. Wynn Family Housing is run by Christine Quinn. Covenant House, I think everybody probably knows them. Rethink Food would be picking up excess food from the hotel and gambling operation and distributing that in the community. Hudson Guild is a community support agency. And then on top of that, there was kind of a loose commitment to fund the conversion of up to 2,000 total apartments, 25% of those affordable, you know, in the general area with another development partner. So, you know, not fully defined. Freedom Plaza is the old Con Ed steam plant between 38th and 41st, I guess, 42nd, on the east side, which has been a demolished vacant site for quite a while. So this is kind of a combination of things. This is like the whole gambling thing made it into the apartments that were authorized under a previous rezoning. So here it's 1,000 apartments, half of them affordable, a 5-acre park. And there, because of its location, they're providing 1,400 on-site parking spots. And that proposal had a huge number of environmental, you know, traffic and pedestrian impacts that have to be abated as part of their proposal. So our prior actions as a community board, in December of 22, we passed a very general resolution that I guess came out of land use that recommended opposition to any casino in CB5. And the reasons were traffic, the fact that we were already an economically developed zone. You didn't really need this to generate economic development in Times Square. And also the problem gambling issues. In June of 25, so we were invited to the party extremely late. We never actually got notice of the hearings and the timing of the schedule. And so we had a deadline in June. And so land use kind of rushed through the process, reviewed what we could at the time, and ended up really in the form of comments on this draft scoping document for the environmental impact statement. But it became a long list of the concerns that we had You'll see that in the in tonight's resolution. And so we submitted that before the deadline for those comments. The final scoping and the draft EIS were all issued roughly at the same time in August, but we didn't have the benefit of any of that at the time that we last voted on this. And you can see the list. I mean, given what the process was, we really went through and tried to identify every possible impact that should be mitigated as part of this. And, you know, honestly, there's, I would say, total overlap between our concerns and the concerns of every other community group on every other application. In fact, I do think what's true here is that a lot of the sort of traffic impacts and all of that are way different for this proposal than they are for any of the other proposals. Oh, I'm sorry. The last note on that is that both community boards 4 and 6 passed resolutions against casinos in their district. Community Board 4 had one very specific anti-Hudson Yards, and you may know that Related abandoned that proposal. And then Community Board 6 came out generally against Freedom Plaza, which sits in their district. Okay, so this is kind of in one sheet what our 3 or 4 page resolution says. The whereases, and just to kind of walk you through how we're kind of building the case. The whereases reiterate all of the concerns that we submitted as part of the June 12th letter. It just states that the draft environmental impact statement, I mean, we didn't say it, it's essentially useless for our concerns. There aren't a lot of hard environmental impact issues in this application. And so what came up was very limited traffic impacts, and then this general category of public health concerns, which was really the gambling issue. We identify what the proposed community benefits are. We kind of refute the argument that just saying, oh, I'm not displacing housing is the same as the others that are providing actual housing or supportive housing, or you know, we moan a little bit about the fact that the review period was accelerated during our summer hiatus. The materials that were available to us for review were heavily redacted, like the transportation management plan, which we would have used to comment on the EIS, was literally just black boxes. There was nothing to read on that. And we had, really, we didn't have the draft EIS until sometime in August, and the final won't be done until really all the voting is finished. So if people have comments on the draft, you're not really going to see a final version until the decision's already made about, you know, which of these is moving forward. So the kind of bottom line of all of this, and, you know, is that we didn't take like the moral high ground on this, that somehow we're against gambling and it shouldn't be here. We didn't go in that direction at all. We really just said, like, it's impossible for us really to understand the list of things that we're concerned about and how the applicant has chosen to identify and fund issues. Those two things don't necessarily line up. We haven't had any opportunity to discuss that with them. And it's only a 10-year commitment, and it's a commitment through a separate agreement that doesn't necessarily impact their future licensing. And so essentially we've taken the position that that we don't believe that all of the impacts from this proposal can be adequately mitigated by the community benefits that they've proposed over a limited period of time. You know, what happens after the 10 years? What happens once they're up and running and they don't really have a positive obligation to mitigate at that point? The agreement has been entered into. So if we discover future impacts that nobody foresaw during the bidding process, how do you get them to address those? So there was a general feeling in the Land Use Committee that there's just no way that we could approve this given the information we have and given the level of our concern. And the process doesn't allow any other real discussion about this. And so given the time limits, we were like, we're a no. And we don't believe that the Community Advisory Committee should forward this, because this is all we're dealing with right now, should forward this to the gaming facility board. So, you know, it was a somewhat of a punt. I mean, I will say, standing here, that if the discussions continued somehow, you know, we would have to potentially think about whether anything changes for us. But really, at this point, it's a very complete proposal. It's going to be acted on in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And so I don't really see much movement in how this works, at least as it relates to, you know, our involvement and our activities in it. Yeah, this is the way more detailed list that they showed today of what their community investment program is and who the involved groups are.
Okay.
All
Thank you,
right.
David.
Thank you.
All right. Any conflicts? Questions? Nancy, grab a microphone. Nancy, grab a microphone.
There's one up here. Is there one? Oh, David.
David.
My question is about the voting ballot. If you vote yes, that means a no, correct?
Correct. So if you are voting yes on our ballot, you are voting to approve this resolution, which is saying we do not wish to have a casino in our district.
Thank you.
So if you vote yes on the ballot that was circulated, you are voting to approve the resolution, and the resolution says we do not want a casino. So a vote yes, counterintuitively, is saying we do not want a casino.
Very important.
Thank you, Nancy.
Can I, oh, I'm sorry. Can I just to follow up on that? In terms of why it was structured that way, we had some discussions in the committee about, well, why can't we do it the way SLAP does it? Could we do a deny unless? You know, and the reality is, like, the process just doesn't work that way. Deny unless works at SLAP because that's how the process works with the state liquor authority, but that is not how this process works. So I think the answer was, even if we wanted additional input and this thing continued, the only way to get that is through a no.
Thank you, David. Tom.
Nice presentation. I do have one of the parts of the resolution I don't understand. You made comment. I don't, you know, I know this is only a small part, but I do think it's important going forward. I don't understand the reference to 5 Times Square. And the reason why I'm saying I don't understand like 5 Times Square has, outside of being close to 1515 Broadway, has nothing to do with 1515 Broadway. And why I point out is it's not, the building's older. It's going to be it's not a practical residential conversion because of the asbestos abatement, because of the you know, like, this building can't be, it's not as easy to convert. And the one reason why I'm pointing this out is, you know, one of the concerns I think there is with the building is, I think, you know, if you look at Times Square, it's starting to get into an urban death cycle, right? Like, that's the area because of the commercial.
Tom, is there a question?
Yeah, I would just want to say, like, why are we, you know, if like 5 Times Square residential, this building, in correct me if I'm wrong, this building is not a good residential conversion candidate because of the age and the asbestos and the rest of it.
Yeah, so actually SL Green, in their comment, I think at land use, their comment was that it's the location that's the issue, not the building. That they don't believe that the bow tie is a residential location. But if you look at other conversions that are happening, the Pfizer building on 42nd Street, there are a lot of buildings of that age with aged equipment and all of that. There's no asbestos in that building. It's been abated because tenants have moved in there, you know, since asbestos was illegal. So could it be, oh, and by the way, 5 Times Square, the footprint of that building is very similar to 1515. They're both very large floor plates. So yes, you know, physically, Maybe economically it's feasible. And the reason it's on the list is because, as we understood it from public sources, SL Green is a partner in the 5 Times Square conversion. So they certainly know like what's doable on a project like that. They've looked at conversions in other places. They're a well-informed, potential converter. And really, Tom, I mean, this was really just to kind of take away the argument that, well, we don't need to provide any housing because we have this like negative argument that we're not taking away housing. So why should we have to provide? Yeah, that's the kind of the bottom line of that piece of the resolution.
Thank you. Any other questions? Samir? I think, yeah.
After tonight, are we done with casinos? Or if the CAC approves this, do we expect to have another letter or something else that we send to that 6-member committee or whatever?
I mean, I think process-wise, we're done. I mean, it's possible that this works kind of like the points of agreement on MSMX, that somehow there's a dialogue. We haven't been approached, as far as I know, on anything like that. So, I mean, my answer would be, this is the end of the line.
Any other questions? Okay, moving into comments. Zool.
Thank you, David, Nancy, Julie, and all the members of Land Use for a very thoughtful discussion and a very well-written resolution. So I'm in the entertainment business and film, theater, television, and our models are rife with a certain degree of moral hazard. But there are businesses like gambling, like prostitution, that affiliate themselves with the entertainment industry that are based on moral injury. So film, theater, television, somebody might get hurt for one reason or another, but here the profit is based on people being hurt. It won't be the whales, it won't be the high rollers, it won't be the fat cats, they will profit, but it will be the least among these. The desperate, the addicted, the workers, folks who can't afford to lose the rent.
Thank you, Zool. You're on.
So just to make a comment on Samir's question and David's follow-up, like even though this is by process the end of the line for us, I do hope that if the commission furthers this application to the gambling board, that we will have continued dialogue. It was interesting to hear at Land Use that the applicant was indicating that there was paperwork and traffic studies and things that they could share with us, or they might share with us in the future. And I just hope that should this application be forwarded, that they would continue that dialogue. And I'm just sort of saying that a little bit to them. And just for the record, it doesn't have to be the end of the line, and I hope it's not.
Thank you. Ankur.
Thank you. I voted against the resolution at Land Use, and I just wanted to explain my thinking. I was one of 3 members who voted against this. First, I wasn't comfortable with the process. Normally, when we have a land use application, an applicant will come before us and we give them an opportunity to make their case. I appreciate that aspects of this timeline were a bit abbreviated, but the applicant made multiple efforts, or they asserted that they made multiple efforts to have an opportunity to speak to us about their application for years. And they hadn't had that opportunity. I don't think it's fair to deny an application if the applicant hasn't even had a chance to make a presentation to us. I don't think it sets a good precedent for us to do that, even if we're time constrained. I would be perfectly fine with a resolution that outlined every one of these complaints and said that we want the complaints to be, the concerns to be considered, but that we can't approve anything or deny it. But these are concerns that we have that should be taken under advisement. To say no suggests that we've reached a conclusion on something where the applicant hasn't had a chance to speak to us about it. Second, I'm also a little concerned on the merits. So, as Zool noted, there are negative externalities in the gambling industry. I think while David noted that the resolution doesn't try to get into that, If you watch the land use committee meeting, multiple members of the committee brought that up. That is clearly what is animating this, or animating this for some. I also do not like gambling. I have people in my family who have gambling addictions, and they are preyed upon, I think, by casinos. But we are not being asked to vote on whether a casino is a good idea or a bad idea. But with the negative externalities, one concern I had, and it was also raised at the land use committee, is that sometimes wealthy neighborhoods like ours will use their power to kick casinos out into the outer boroughs or into other neighborhoods and try to put it out of our backyard somewhere else. The New York resolutions that legalized the licenses for downstate, that was a different political process. These licenses exist. 2 will already likely be awarded to existing facilities in Yonkers and I think Howard Beach, JFK. Yeah, out in Queens. So there's 1 left to get. Will it be in the Bronx? Will it be near Citi Field? Or will it be in Central Midtown? And I think it's interesting, as David noted, that all the Manhattan boards very quickly put together a resolution saying, no, we can't have this here. And I don't like the precedent of moving things that were duly allowed by the democratic process, but have some negative aspects to it. Wealthy neighborhoods saying, no, we don't want that here, and using our political power to avoid that. So that is why I voted no on the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankur. Nancy.
This is not an application to Community Board 5 because this is not a city action. This is an action by the New York State Gaming Commission. This is only a letter to our local group who will be voting on this. So it's not an application. So it wasn't handled in the same way. And we have spent 2 land use committee meetings going over this. And we were not even told that this was happening the first time we heard about it. We heard about it from Community Board 4. So no one reached out to us to give us any information about this casino. It was a state action, not a city action. So we learned by happenstance. That's one thing. The second thing I would like to say is that more than 30 Broadway organizations of the industry are opposed to this. There's a newsletter that comes out daily called Broadway Briefing. And they list in one of their newsletters about the 30 organizations that are opposed to this casino in Times Square. We are concerned about the traffic that this will bring. It was never brought up. It was never discussed. None of our questions about traffic were ever answered by anyone. The other thing is there are other communities in Yonkers and Queens that truly want this casino. They want the economic development opportunities in their district. We don't need this in Community Board 5. I'd like to end with the 3 C's. We're opposed to the 3 C's, which are crime, congestion, and cannibalizing the Broadway industry.
Thank you, Nancy. Todd.
No,
sorry, Todd. Sorry,
Todd,
but enunciated.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I add my voice to both Nancy and Zool, and I'll keep it brief. Times Square and the theater industry is the crown jewel of Manhattan, or one of the crown jewels. And plopping down a gambling casino with all of the negative externalities and all of the issues that come with it, just on a common sense basis, is just wrong. So I did hear one comment, and I do commend the committee for doing their job and doing the best with limited time, saying they didn't want to draw any moral comparisons or moral judgments. But what is our job as a community board? Our job as a community board is to represent the best interests of our district and put down a red line about what we think is right and wrong and what is in the best interest of our district, its citizens, its industries, as we see fit. So I strongly support voting against the placement of the casino where it is. And just one other short comment. It's obvious from looking at this, is they tried to bypass our role and not give us the time and effort that we could make a comment on it. So again, I commend the committee for doing what it could to give us a chance to comment. And I urge everybody to vote yes on the amendment, which means no to the casino.
Thank you, Todd. Tom, go ahead.
So I think overall there are some good points here why you should vote yes for the thing, but there are some things I'm hearing that I don't necessarily think are true. And I just want to be really wary of. I especially worry about crime and saying that getting rid of the casino is definitely going to help crime in Times Square. That I would argue that this would actually probably help to reduce crime. I'm not saying that through, but I do think there's a problem in Times Square with commercial real estate. And I do have to understand, like, it's really problematic how some of these buildings, and this is not a fault of the city, it's just a fault of time. They built these large skyscrapers and their anchor tenants are leaving. They're moving to new places. They're moving to Class A buildings, you know, higher environmental stuff like that. Like Hudson Yards created the gap you see in Times Square. And the worst thing you can have in terms of crime, it's not a casino, it's an empty building. And not every building is going to be able to convert. I would argue against 1515 being able to convert because of its footprint, its large size. Now, what's probably going to happen with that space, it will be converted, probably parceled out and sold as luxury apartments. That makes sense for the space. We do have to understand, you know, like it's expensive real estate and that's fine, but we have to understand that, you know, as we go forward, not everything is going to be right and wrong. There's going to be pros and cons. And I do think we need to be realistic on some of the cons. And there is going to be a con, like having that building empty because Paramount's gone isn't going to be a pro, right? Like it's an empty building, or worse, it's going to go into junk bond, small business leasing that may or not be legitimate businesses. Like there's a negative to having a building fall down like that. So I just want to be, you know, as we go forward, you know, we're not always going to have home runs. And I do think we need to be a little realistic on some of the things that might help out. That said, I think the biggest thing, as Zool pointed out, and I think the driver is the Broadway industry, which makes that area what it is. Special is against it. And I think that's where, you know, the nature of the community and what we're trying to do would argue against us voting for it.
Thank you, Tom. Robert.
So can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you. So I have mixed feelings about this resolution, about the project more generally. I guess from my perspective, there are kind of two ways of thinking about this. There's the substance of, you know, do we want a casino here? And then there are some of the process considerations that have been outlined here. I think Ankur made some good points about, you know, 3 downstate casinos have been approved. They're going to go somewhere. I'm not someone who's at all in favor of legalized gambling, but they're going to go somewhere. If it's going to be in Times Square, that's going to be a location that minimizes a lot of the impacts that might otherwise happen. So, you know, very little parking is going to be part of this site. It's going to be in a place that has a lot of complementary uses. You know, some of the revenues that are going to come in or projected to come in it's quite a lot of money. So I guess this is a comment, but it's sort of a question generally is what would happen if we voted against this resolution? Do we have any further opportunity to comment here? Is there any alternative process that could be pursued? So I apologize. I know this is a comment, but
no, that's sure.
An open-ended comment.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll take the question just for others who might be wondering as well. So if tonight we decide to not approve this resolution, the board says nothing. And as I think David outlined in his presentation, the real audience for this is the CAC, which is made up of our elected representatives who are kind of weighing right now across many, because some of them cover multiple casinos within their district, whether or not to approve these casino licenses. So essentially, our board would say nothing to those elected representatives about whether or not we want one or don't. And because of the timeline, there isn't another opportunity for us to come back to this before that vote happens. It'll happen on September 30th by the latest. I don't think the date has been picked, but it won't be before, it won't be after our next board. Thank you. Zona.
Thank you to David, Nancy, and the committee for the great work. I'll keep this brief and take the moral low ground and simple-mindedly say that I don't want a casino and I don't think gambling is a great thing. I also think it's like very telling, the list of folks who are supportive of the application versus not. Thank you.
Thank you, Zona. You're on.
Sorry, I know I already spoke, but so I'll be quick. But I want to sort of reorient us. Why I really support this resolution is because, you know, I don't actually think the question is, do we want a casino or do we not? I mean, it is partly the question, but there's also the question that David really spoke about, which is $250 million enough nearly enough to mitigate what that casino is going to bring to our district? And I think it is not nearly enough. And the way it's sort of randomly allocated is not going to work. David talked about the other Manhattan bids. There are other bids in the outer boroughs in which the community investment packages are much larger than this one. So for me, that makes this a no-brainer to say yes to the resolution.
Thank you, Ron. Will.
Yeah, I think Ankur made some good points there. And I think it's just a difficult place to be in to say that there's a potential, we should take the harm for our district because of the potential that it could go somewhere else, but we don't know where it's going to go and what effect that would have on another area. I think just culturally, if that's the right word, I just think this is bad for our city and our district. I mean, it seems like maybe this isn't the right way to characterize it. It seems like sort of like an elitist sort of place. You've got like your fancy clubs, you got your fancy restaurants, and I just don't think that serves the people of our community and the people that we should be caring about.
Thank you, Will. Annie. Robert, yeah. Thank you.
I also just wanted to make a note. I know you see my name having voted no against this resolution in our committee meeting. There were a lot of conversations regarding the process here and holes that were then filled in David's presentation today we did not have during our committee meeting. I will be voting in support of the resolution. I'm very against a casino in our city, also in our district, but there were process questions that I think deserved the attention and time that we gave to them. And I wanted to highlight that for this committee, not as though it was strongly disagreed with among our members, but I thought that it was important to be raising that for the executive committee to see for the full board conversation that I think has drawn a little bit of attention here. But I do think there's a high majority of us who share our feelings on what we want this district to have. So just mentioning that for anyone wondering as to seeing some names on the opposed list.
Thank you, Annie. Kevin? Thompson.
Won't repeat anything that's already been said. I fairly agree with most of the arguments that have been made. I just would just simply say, as Zona has, from a resident perspective, it's just bad for the quality of life in this district, and I'm categorically against it. And I note that every neighborhood association is against that. So I just ask people to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone else? Milan. Just take it.
Okay. Similar to others that may have taken the low ground, yes, I don't favor casinos, but also I have looked at places like Las Vegas, and if you type in Google search or DuckDuckGo search or Perplexity AI, choose your search engine of choice, type Las Vegas is. Look within the first 3 or 5 options, see what you get. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Milan. He said Google it. Any, all right, Zul, go ahead. Please keep it brief.
So I live in the district, but I'm a Bronx school, and I always give Bronx school. So I'm neither taking a NIMBY position nor a YIMBY. 250 million is pure citizens. But think about it, the casino lobby didn't come down state when it's Albany, and what do we get? The state mandates 3 casinos downstate. These people are carrying.
Thank you, Zul. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. So as I said, please continue to, you can vote sort of now or at the end, but don't hit submit till the end of the meeting. We will next move on to, oh, right, sorry, Councilmember Brewer is with us. I'll take us out of business session so she can address us.
Yeah.
Up here, please.
Is this on?
Thank you very much, Board 5. That was a great discussion because I've heard them all about the casino. So that's really helpful. So thank you for being so comprehensive. A few things. First of all, I want to thank your manager for coming to the Columbus Circle meeting. I think we're making some headway. First of all, we worked with the Street Vendor Project and the Central Park Conservancy. And those vendors are now leaving every night, go home to your home location, get cleaned and come back because they weren't doing that. Number 2, they're also moving for power wash. And in the past, Central Park Conservancy could not power wash because nobody was moving. So working together, that is happening. Third, the main monument is being cleaned. That's one of my favorite monuments. It is being cleaned by the Central Park Conservancy. Finally, I hate those big rock stone ballards. They're not helpful. They get filthy dirty. People leave coffee cups on them, etc. So we are going to somehow find a way to remove them and put in what I would call the ballards that are similar. They're the silver ballards. They are across the street at Related. They're at JCC. There are so many locations. So that's what we're going to work on. It was a very productive discussions. And I really want to thank Board 5. We're also working on the pedicab issue. That is not an easy topic. It's something that we are trying to find legislation for, working with different city agencies. I also want to just mention some of the legislation. We passed something really good yesterday. I assume the mayor will sign it, which is Intro 20. And what it is, it says really specifically looking at commercial bicycle deliveries and pedestrians for the very first time. The DoorDashes, the Uber Eats, and all the apps are going to be accountable and not just getting off every single time. And so the individuals who are delivering will get the lights and the headlights and the vests, and they'll have a number on their back for the different, there aren't that many apps, so 2 or 3 numbers on the vest. As long as the apps give it to them, the apps will be off the hook if somebody doesn't wear it, but they have to be responsible for that. And it'll help, I think, for the agencies to be able to say, you're not independent contractors. You do have to be responsible as the app. And so it's no longer their excuse that they are not responsible because it's an individual driver. So it'll be the first time. We also, as you know, overrode 3 vetoes by the mayor. One was very close, one to do with vendors and the other to do with Instacart. If you have more questions, let me know. I also have some bills I introduced yesterday to do with bike parking stations and more locations and getting rid of the gas-powered leaf blowers, which I find to be very challenging. Some people have switched to electric, but many have not. So we would outlaw them if it passes. We're also pushing a FOIL bill. That may not be of direct interest to you, but you can be sure that even though the law is you have to answer the FOIL, which is a freedom of information in a certain time period, the agencies don't do it. Many of them, particularly the mayor's office, to be honest with you. And so we're working to try to upgrade that information. There's a real charter revision fight going on. I am not supportive of 2, 3, and 4, which the city council also is not supportive in general. And I really hope you look at it. It really screws the community boards, as you know, and the city council. We would not have input as we do now. So I hope you make sure that you tell people that. The committee that I chair, Oversight and Investigation, just did a huge report on ghost plates. Some of you may have seen it. It basically says, interviewed, I think we saw 3,500 cars with all non-city, meaning out of state plates. So many of them are illegal. They either are covered, the plates don't match the registration, they have no plates. And we're urging the police department, it's good to go to the bridges to find ghost plates, but guess what? Go to park cars in locations where there's crime. These ghost plate cars, they go through red lights, they go through school zones too fast, they park at hydrants, and they're often part of criminal activity. So we really need to get them off the street, we need to tow them, and we need to get them to tow pounds. So that was what came out of that one. We also just did a survey of my favorite law, which is don't leave your door open as a store where the air conditioning goes out. If it's hot out, keep your damn door closed. That's the law. Otherwise, it doesn't help our planet. But guess what? Everybody leaves their door open. So we need to do more education on that topic. And there are many more, but those are a very small number. So we have CPR training coming up. We're doing stuff on the City of Forest Day. We are doing a recycling day. We're doing a pet adoption day. We're doing a children's book day and a mammogram bus. We also have every single week somebody helping us with SNAP, Scree-Dree, veterans, housing clinic, fresh food for seniors. Thank you very much. Happy September 11th, if that's the right word. More people are dying. We expect 45,000 people to die, as you probably know, as a result, in addition to those who died on the day of. So I spent a lot of time on that topic. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your meeting. And I'll leave a copy. If you don't sign up for my newsletter, I'll kill you. But here it is. I'll pass a copy around in case you haven't signed up.
Thank you, council member. All right, Kevin, would you like to follow that up? All right, we're going to go back into business session.
So there are two tough acts to follow. My name is Kevin Frizz. I'm chair of the Landmarks Committee. Landmarks had 4 applications this month. Can I have them deemed read?
So deemed.
The first 2 resolutions were both from Central Park. If you're new to CB5, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Kabeck. If you're new to CB5, you might be wondering why Central Park needs approval from CB5. The entire park is designated as a landmark, and any scenic changes to Central Park must be presented to every community board that touches the park. Since CB5 touches the south side of Central Park, they must present to our committee. Yet another reason why Landmarks is the best committee and you should all want to join it. The first application is for Bethesda Fountain. This obviously is a very famous New York landmark that sits at the top of the mall in Central Park, also known as Angel of the Waters. The statue in the fountain was installed in 1873. Unfortunately, has fallen into disrepair. She is suffering from irregular patching, exposed aggregate cracks, and deteriorated repairs at the drain. The park plans to fix these visual issues, but will also modernize the plumbing, the fountain systems, and the electrical systems. The project will start next spring and will last about 1 year. The committee approved this unanimously, 14-0-0.
Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, keep on.
The second application is for Grand Army Plaza. This is the large plaza on the southeast corner of the park, directly across from the Plaza Hotel. If you don't remember, the plaza itself is oval shaped. Half of the oval is above 59th Street and the other half is below 59th Street. The two halves of the oval each have a very prominent statue at their center. At the north side, it's the Sherman Monument, and on the south side, it's the Poulter Fountain, which the goddess Pomona sits on the top of. When Central Park was recently completing the renovation of the plaza, they realized they had run afoul of the DOT rules, which require photocells to be installed in the lighting systems. These photocells automatically turn off and on the nearby lights by sensing the sunlight. It's a fun New York fact for you. Central Park considered several options to rectify this and ultimately decided to add 4 25-foot poles, 2 on the south side and 2 on the north side. These poles will provide the required photo cells, but will also illuminate the Sherman statue and Pomona statue during the nighttime hours. The committee had several questions on this proposal, as the poles themselves are not very attractive on their own, but the trade-off is that the illuminated views at night will be much more stunning. Overall, the committee approved this application as well, 14-0-0.
Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, go.
Thank you to John Harris, who wrote both of our Central Park resolutions. As usual, he did a terrific job. The third application is 395th Avenue, the Gorham Building, the original home of the Gorham Silver Company. The Gorham Building itself is an individual landmark on the corner of 5th Avenue and 36th Street. The applicant wants to install 10-foot by 3-foot sized functional outdoor air intake louvers at the facade retail level. If you don't know what that is, a louver is a series of horizontal metal slats designed to let air or light into a building. In this case, the louvers will function as an exhaust for the new restaurant at the facade level. It's definitely not the prettiest architectural application that we've ever seen, but it is functionally necessary for the business going in there. And the applicant has tried to ensure the louvers are symmetrical visually along the sight lines, so the committee approved this one as well, 14-0-0.
Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, last one.
Cruising. The final application is 636 6th Avenue. This is a 6-story building on the corner of 19th and 6th Avenue. The building is located in the Ladies Mile Historic District, so it falls under our purview. This is a very interesting long application, actually. The applicant is the Manhattan Hotel Workers Union, and they plan to turn the entire 6-story building into a health center and physician's office for their union members and their families. As part of the renovation, there's an extensive renovation of the exterior at the facade level and on the roof. This includes replacement of the original windows, reconfiguration of the retail level, and rooftop additions. I won't list all of the renovations because there were many, but the renovations are described very well in the resolution, which was written joint effort by Julia and Tony. Fantastic job. Thanks to both of you. The design overall is a very attractive upgrade to this building, and it will be used to provide healthcare to union workers and their families. So it's really a win-win all around. This resolution passed 13 in favor, none opposed, 1 present but not entitled.
Great, thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Libby, EPSC.
Hi, I'm Libby Hutton. I am the Parks Chair. We had 3 resolutions, if you include the letters, this month. May I have them deemed read?
So deemed.
All right, first up, we had an application by Vornado to Penn Property for a new enclosed pedestrian bridge. This is over the DOT Plaza on West 33rd Street. The proposal is it's not quite ground level, it's that second floor. It goes between 1 Penn and 2 Penn. It connects both those commercial buildings and then also connects the public spaces within them. One side includes an auditorium, and then on the other side, it connects to the retail businesses as well as the wellness space. And I think there's a co-working space in there. The bridge is going to be transparent, glass and steel. It's about 15 feet wide. The middle point goes a little bit higher and a little lower from side to side, but it's 18 feet above the ground, 15 feet on one side and 20 something on the other. Public access hours are the same as what the building are. That's Monday to Friday, 8 to 9. Some concerns were raised about the obstruction of the Empire State Building view. There's a DOT, the subway entrance was created so that it's a juxtaposition between that subway entrance and the Empire State Building, both when you emerge from the subway and then walking east to from the west side through that pedestrian plaza. We raised those concerns at the committee meeting. We also had some concerns about the construction and the disruption to that plaza and the enjoyment of the plaza. But that was ultimately deemed they would have protections. And our other big concern was for signage, because wayfinding on things like POPs is really difficult. We wanted to make sure that if it's open to the public, it should really be a public benefit. We voted to approve the revocable consent at a committee vote of 11 and then 1 abstention.
Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? You're on.
So I'm going to be voting against this, and this is Libby's smiling because she knows. With all due respect to the committee. So I'm really struggling with this. So what we have here, and I watched the committee meeting, I was unable to attend. We have Vornado saying that they want to build this walkway above a already pedestrianized plaza to ostensibly connect the public areas of these two buildings. And I would argue they're already connected. There's a pedestrian plaza in between the two buildings. This I think originally they said Skybridge, but this pedestrian bridge would also sit on the second floor. So you could ostensibly, in one building, walk down a floor, walk across a pedestrian plaza, and then walk up a floor, and there you are. I mean, the amenities are connected. Building this bridge serves no community benefit. It may benefit the tenants of the two buildings, and that's fine, but it has no community benefit. And as a community board, I don't see why we would support it. I don't know that we would have to reject it either, but if we reject this resolution tonight, it becomes like a no comment. And that seems more reasonable to me because I don't see the value of creating extra connection between things that are already connected with a pedestrian plaza. And if it creates any obstruction of the view, or if it creates an additional shadow or anything or any enjoyment of that plaza, I don't see why the community benefits. So I'll be voting against this.
Thank you, Ron. Any other comments? Tom? Seth, I think you have it. That works. Okay.
What I would say is the benefit would be the actual ability to move between the buildings. I used to work in One Penn, so I'm just going to kind of point out that since they moved that into Plaza, it makes it harder to get to and from kind of crossing when there's an event or something. If you're trying to go into one side of Penn Station to the other, right? Like you're coming off the one train and you want to go to like New Jersey Transit, you either have to walk through the station, which can get clogged, or you have to get out. So like, let's say there's an event like the Knicks were playing, right? The playoff games. If the plaza's full, you don't have that motion anymore. So what you can do is go up to the second floor and then walk. It creates kind of like a flow if some event is happening. And I would say, it's the view versus the flow of commuters trying to walk between New Jersey Transit and say the one train, or New Jersey Transit and going into One Penn.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments? Okay, next.
Okay, so second item is a comment on the Union Square Holiday Market RFP that is out, will be out soon. The current contract is held by Urban Space, who has come to present to our committee a lot. As many of you may remember, there were 2 fires in our district last year within a 2-week period at different locations. But as a result of that, our committee's really taken a strong interest in these pretty permanent, or at least long-standing temporary structures. And we really wanted to make sure that we covered the important stuff. So we had questions, and we wanted to make sure that the new fire safety obligations from the city are also included and outlined in the RFP. Again, this is just a general comment overall at both the high level and what should be included in the RFP. And this comment goes to Parks for when they reissue. So we had concerns about fire protocols that we just wanted to be included. We wanted some improved pedestrian traffic flow to the subway station that the market encloses. We wanted to have battery powered generators to reduce some of the noise. We also wanted better dumpster locations. We asked for portable bathrooms to be included, so that the neighboring businesses don't have that extra bathroom pressure. We care a lot about bathrooms in our district. We wanted ongoing mechanisms for the market goers to then give feedback to Parks and to whoever the contractor is in an ongoing way. And more proactive communication in general between all the different agencies. Oh, and we also wanted small business and artisans to be included in some manner, and hope to see that in any applications that come in. We voted to send this letter. The committee vote was 12-0-0.
Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, next.
All right. So the next one is a letter to Bryant Park Corporation. As many of you remember, we have been very concerned about many, many things. This letter is very high level. It is meant to consolidate and sort of codify everything that we've already talked about. None of this stuff is new. It's stuff that's really come up throughout the course of the last several months. This is meant to be an opening because we want to collaborate with Bryant Park and try to solve these issues together and find solutions so we can all enjoy passive space in the most enjoyable way possible. So our main concerns are the frequency and scale of programs, commercialization. We also had concerns about, again, fire safety, especially during the winter village. And big shout out to Yaron, who was very helpful in wordsmithing some of this to make sure that all of our concerns were included. And again, this is really just like an invitation to really work collaboratively. Like this is the starting off point so that we can then work with Bryant Park to solve some stuff because we all love it so much.
Great. Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So that takes us through all of the committee reports, and now we will move into the bylaw revisions. So Yaron will present for those.
Hi, everybody. So we have 4 proposed bylaw revisions. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but happy to answer questions. The first, and I'm going in the order of how it's in the printout here. So the first is to clarify what was already there, which is how members are to identify that they are speaking in their personal capacity when they are addressing a governmental body or a city agency. So it just clarifies that requirement. The second is a expansion or a clarification of the role of the district manager in hiring. This is language, it's quite wordy, but this is language that I believe came directly from the law department. Is that right, Marisa? Yeah. This is, going through the process of hiring Isabel, and we're so happy she's here. We learned that we had some gaps in our bylaws about the authority and how it was delegated, and so this is clarifying that. The third proposal is to make the ethics committee discretionary. This is in the history of the board, it was considered discretionary until the recent bylaw revision. And Brad has done his best efforts to comply with our bylaws and create an ethics committee, and has had trouble doing that. So this is to, sort of rectify that this should be at the chair's discretion. And then the last is a series of revisions that collectively change parts of our elections process that is going to begin tonight. It reduces the size of the elections committee from 5 to 3. This is all, by the way, these are suggestions that were made based on feedback from the elections committee this year. So it reduces the size of that committee. It codifies this keeping of a real-time list of nominees so we can see who's put their name forward. It changes a bit the timeline and of when people need to submit statements. And I would say the biggest impetus behind it is it reiterates the administrative nature of the elections committee. They're here to administer elections and nothing more. And there are additional changes there. So is that good?
Good.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? Zul, you gave your mic away. Where did it go?
So just so people who are new and unaware that we once had a nominations committee. It's now an elections committee. So this is a significant difference. And I think Yaron put it very well. This is now an administrative committee. We are not making judgments on the candidates who come forward for the offices.
Great. Thank you, Zul. Any other comments? Okay. So that concludes the voting items for tonight. So everyone, please fill out your ballots. I'll give everyone about 5 minutes to do that. We'll check back in at 8:29. So please do that now. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, please, everyone, please sit down.
I was saying,
We're gonna, thank you, Mike. All right, we're gonna announce the vote tally now.
All right. Okay, thank you, everybody, for voting. Regarding the July 2025 minutes, my first minutes, thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry, I didn't realize how close I need to get. Okay, so thank you for approving the July 2025 minutes. We have 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 abstain. Moving along, regarding the 39 West 19th Street application for new liquor license, that was also approved. 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain. Regarding the comment on the Times Square Casino proposal, that was also approved with 30 yes votes, 6 no votes, 2 abstains. Next, the Central Park Bethesda Park restoration, that was approved with 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 abstain. Regarding also the Central Park Grand Army Plaza South lighting modification, that was approved with 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 abstain. Next, regarding 390 Fifth Avenue's facade application, that was also approved, 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain. Next, 636 Sixth Avenue, the health center application, that was approved with 36 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain, and 1 present not entitled. Moving along, the Penn Plaza pedestrian bridge project on West 33rd, that was approved with 32 yes votes, 4 no votes, 2 abstains. Next, the Union Square Holiday Market request for proposals, approved with 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 abstain. Next, the letter to the Bryant Park Corporation, approved with 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain. And finally, approval of the bylaw revisions, that was also approved, 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 abstain. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, Milan. All right. We will now move into new business. I'll go first. So now that we've approved our bylaws, I'd like to announce our new elections committee. Zool, Yoden, and Kevin have agreed to reprise their roles on the election committee, and I understand Kevin has agreed to chair the committee again. So thank you to all 3 of you. They'll be reaching out with more information in the coming days and weeks, but the important thing is to know that if you wish to be considered in our upcoming elections, please contact them to indicate your interest. We'll discuss a little bit more about this process as we go through it over the next couple meetings. Any other new business? Looking at you, Mike.
Get him a mic.
Mike.
Testing. Cool. Just by the way, if any of you have never been to one of these town halls about the gaming, check it out. They are fun. They line up out the door. If you, it's a trip. It's at the Scandinavia House on Park Avenue, 37th Street. And if you get there early, they're going to wait for the line out the door, and they're fun to listen to. Number 2, the museum, Metropolitan Museum of Art, has just opened up a new wing, and I was fortunate enough yesterday to be invited there to view that's Michael Rockefeller wing, it's called. And you go in that place and it blows you away. It's gorgeous. They got window shades that go up and down to stop the light coming in or humidity. Each one of the different art exhibits is individually studied. They spent hours, years making that ready. Check out the new exhibit at the Rockefeller wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I had a tour on Sunday at Madison Square Park. It was a delight. We had a lot of people and everybody had a great time. Bryant Park, I spent today 3 hours today in Bryant Park, listening to some great music. there must have been 10 million people in there. And so I was sitting next to this couple, and they looked like foreigners, you know, so I chatted them up. They were from England, and I asked them what they thought of New York. And I asked them what was a highlight, and they told me this park was a highlight. They loved the park. And just looking around at the happy faces of all of the people in the park, I got to tell you, if you don't spend I know you people work, you're not old and retired like me, and you can hang out whenever you want, but I get there, I would say 3 times a week. There's always music. On Wednesday, there's 2 musics, 2 different things at 12:30 and at 3:30. Check it out. You're going to, if you don't go there, you're missing a great experience. That park is a gift to Midtown New Yorker like me who lives on 40th Street. Okay. And the last thing, I'm using up my 2 minutes here. And the last thing, I have a Garment District Educational History walking tour on 9/25, at which you will learn why or how George M. Cohan predicted that the theater district was going to move uptown to where it's currently located. You'll learn that. Don't ask me before you take my tour, because I'm not going to tell you. You got to be on my tour. And on Sunday, 10/5, that's the first Sunday of 10 October, I'll be doing a Flatiron District tour. And on that tour, you learn all kinds of great stuff too. If you want to know what it is, come take the tour. I promise you, you'll be happy. If not, as usual, my promise is double your money back for the free tour.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Any other new business? Eugene, can we get him a mic, please?
No, anyone. Mike.
I'll take this one.
Here.
Oh, okay.
So I would like to welcome everybody back from the summer break. And that's part of the new business is on September 1st was Labor Day. And that concludes our summer and starts the rest of our year now, and then we come back into session. However, on Saturday, September 6th, I think, from 84th Street to 44th Street on Fifth Avenue, the entire Fifth Avenue was cut off. It was shut down for the Labor Day parade, which was on September 6th, not even a Monday, not even on Labor Day. And the amount of havoc it caused the community in respect to gridlock, pollution from all the cars driving around, nobody could get in and out of their homes. And I don't believe there was even any of this mentioned to any community board that certainly not to CB5. I don't believe. Is that correct, Brad?
I'd have to check with Marisa. I'm not sure if we're.
So what I would like to do on the new business is to propose a motion for our council members to introduce a bill where if there are street closures that are taking place in our community board district, that the community board should be notified and would have an opportunity to comment or to oppose a street closure of that size.
So you're perfectly welcome to make a motion. Typically, you would need sort of language about that, but what I would recommend, rather than making a motion in new business for that, is I'd say let's have a conversation with the office and figure out how to take this through committee, through sort of our normal process, so that we can have the typical public hearing, et cetera.
Okay,
does that work? All right, great, thank you. Any other? I think Yoden wanted to speak for new business.
Yeah, I just not business. I just wanted to invite everyone to a fun event. If anyone's interested, it's September 21st. I'm Tibetan, by the way, and welcome to all the new board members. So every year we organize a Momo crawl in Jackson Heights, Queens. If you don't know what a Momo is, it's the Tibetan dumpling. And Jackson Heights is home to, a large number of restaurants. So the Momo Crawl is a really fun event where if you buy a ticket, you get to line up and have fun and taste momos from all these different restaurants for $1 a momo. And then you vote for the best momo in the city, and then they get like a worldwide wrestling federation type belt at the end. It's a really fun event, and sometimes our elected representatives show up. We're hoping to get one particular one, which I will not name, but it's really fun. And my nephew is emceeing the event, and it's Sunday, September 21st. And if you just look up Momo Crawl on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere, you can find out how to attend. And I will be there.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right,
Yoda.
thanks.
Any other new business? Okay. Nope, not quite. So thank you, everyone. Next, we have the public session. Are there any speakers either in the room or online who would like to speak? As a reminder, at this time, any comment should be about a topic that was not covered during the meeting and that they did not speak to the board about during the public hearing. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand to be recognized, either in person or virtually. All right, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.